Good morning, everybody. We'll get going here at 9 a.m. on the dot. Appreciate all the likes. Appreciate all the likes and subscribes and all that fun stuff. Little turkey show for pre-market. These are the big boys. Looking forward to baby turkeys in a couple months. Just got the urge to troll everyone and make the entire morning show facts about turkeys. I guess we'll go to charts eventually. So this is a bit of an open house. This is what we do on a daily basis. And opening it up to the public so you can all get a peek. I'm going to go over my initial rundown of the charts and the major things that we're watching out of stocks and commodities. Then I go over to our chat room in the Slack community and interact with members there as far as taking some ticker requests here on the right. And we'll go until the open. And then we'll run this live stream until about 10:30 a.m. So about an hour, the first hour of trading. This is the Fidelity screen that I look at, so this will be up once the bell rings. That's how I keep an eye on a bunch of different sectors and stocks all at the same time. And one major thing I'm going to be watching this morning is who's holding the low of yesterday. Bulls have a bit of cushion to work with the pre-market bump. Make sure you're nice and hydrated, nice and stretched out. We'll get going in 2 minutes. All right, let's do it. Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, March 15th, nope, it's not 3:15 p.m. It is 9 a.m. Eastern. So just a reminder, this week we're watching tomorrow FOMC, 2 p.m. Eastern, as a significant event that we're looking for volatility on. And then the end of the week, Friday, is quad witching. SPY issues its dividend, and we have a ton of options expiring. So anticipating second half of this week is going to have some notable volatility. And today is pretty much setting the stage of where we're going to be shaping up, heading into that FOMC reaction tomorrow. So S&P 500 futures chart, and when I do my morning prep, I'm always looking at SPY to see if I find the clarity there, or if it's on the S&P 500 futures chart with the more data that it presents us from overnight trading. And right now I am finding clarity on our futures charts. And what I'm looking at is, okay, we have a solid bounce underway from the low of pre-market. We broke some resistances on the hourly time frame, but I know the burden of proof is on the bulls to prove to us that we can change an hourly trend. So when this move tops out on the morning, the most important thing for me for the rest of the day is, can we set a higher low compared to the lows of pre-market and confirm an hourly trend change for bounce follow through? And of course, we know that even if the bulls do pull that off, we just zoom out and we scout a daily lower high, anything under the high of Friday. So the bulls have a lot of work to do. And we're going to use the daily time frame as a guide, bigger picture, at least I am. So with this morning setup, I know that aggressive bears are scouting entries on the morning. They're scouting entries for the hourly consolidation to take place. So we have highs of pre-market that we're going to be looking at as potential resistance levels for aggressive bears to be playing off of. And we've got an uptrend from pre-market to be keeping an eye on as well. And that will have to break if we're going to see hourly consolidation underway. And you can view it on SPY as well. We can see the low of pre-market is 413.61. And when we top out, we have to hold that low and then break the high of wherever we top out to confirm that hourly trend change. Again, the bears have been trained to short higher opens. It's worked time and time again, far more often than not over the last couple of weeks. And so if anything's going to change, what we would have to see is morning bears being put underwater. So meaning if we open higher, and we see a pullback first thing and bears jump in, have to break the high of pre-market to put any morning bears underwater. If that does not happen, if we just fade right back down, it's going to be yet another day where the bears control the morning and get rewarded for their aggressive entries on the higher open that is shaping up. We will be watching low of Friday support levels on a ton of individual names. And one thing I'm watching for when I pull up the Fidelity chart here, or the screen, is I'm watching to see which sectors are holding the low of Friday and which sectors are breaking the low, or not Friday, the low of yesterday, and which sectors are breaking the low of yesterday. Because I know if all sectors are breaking their lows, the bears have absolute control. If only one sector breaks the lows, but other sectors are holding up, we can anticipate we're not going to see a whole lot of bear follow through. So watching a bunch of names and individual names as well to see, can they maintain the low of yesterday? Checking in on the NASDAQ futures chart to see how it compares to the S&P 500, very similar. So hourly bounce, breaking resistances, but burden of proof is on the bulls to confirm an hourly trend change if anything's going to shift and be different here. We had a bear break of the fear lows, and the bulls are hoping that it's a bear break with zero follow through. And we will be watching for the potential of a falling wedge, but only if today is a solid green day, bulls confirm an hourly trend change in their favor on this futures chart. And if those two things happen, then we'll say, okay, it's a bear break with a lack of follow through. Let's see if a falling wedge does indeed shape up. The dollar set a daily lower high. It's tightening up heading into the FOMC, just viewing it as our high of the breakout. Our daily higher low of support, lower high was set yesterday. And now we're scouting a higher low, anything above 97.71. So tightening range that is likely to break on the FOMC reaction. Metals. So I was watching a gold potential hourly falling wedge yesterday and didn't take any trades or anything, just something I was keeping an eye on to see if it's set up today. And the answer is no, we broke it bearish, so I no longer care about this pattern. You can keep an eye on the downtrending resistance line, but really the hourly EMA 12 is doing everything I need it to as far as showing me trend line resistance. So clear hourly downtrend, but keeping in mind we are scouting a daily higher low on these metals. And for gold, I would call anything above 1878 a daily high or low. So the bulls have a lot of space to work with. That being said, next time we do bounce, bears are going to be waiting for a daily lower high. This is a very significant pullback. Generally speaking, we know that a wide range has us scouting equilibriums. So once we do start a daily bounce, we're going to be measuring the retracement size. How much bounce followed through do the bulls see, and is it enough to create an equilibrium? We know if it's just a weak bounce into a lower high and fails the 382 retracement, it's a potential daily bear flag. But if it's a strong bounce that sees a 50% retracement plus, that's when we scout the equilibrium. But first things first, we have to find a bottom, which we have not done yet, and gold is hitting 4-hour oversold conditions for the first time since its big time breakout. We also have a 4-hour stair-step pattern. It's been a lower high pretty much every candle except for one in here, but a lower high every candle for a bunch of them. And when that pattern breaks, the 4-hour bounce is underway, and we have to confirm a 4-hour trend change if the daily bounce is going to get any follow through. So aggressive bulls are scouting for potential metal bull entries. Zooming in here to the 15-minute time frame, still a clear lower high pattern there, but keeping an eye on the metals today. Silver is similar, but bouncing a little bit more significantly. And same deal as far as looking for a daily high or low. Lots of space for the daily lower high. Got to 4-hour oversold conditions and trying to lead the bounce right now. The 4-hour bounce is on the verge of taking place here. Silver is more bullish over the last hour or so. Checking in on the miners, they confirmed a daily downtrend already. So weekly consolidation clearly underway. Gap down open is shaping up. Again, aggressive bulls are scouting for a bounce on the gap down open. Low of pre-market, 35.70 is support, and I would call anything under 36.85 as just an hourly lower high. So aggressive bulls scouting metal bounces and minor bounces on the morning. Oil is also very weak, pulling back significantly again, looking a bit like a climax top. We're going to scout a daily high or low, anything above 90.06. Lot of space for a daily lower high to form next time we bounce, and bears will be waiting for that daily lower high. 4-hour first oversold conditions, and just like the metals here, trying to get a bounce going on the morning. A lot of work to do, a lot of proving to do from these bulls. Look at the hourly EMA 12 acting as resistance for the last, 36 hours or so. So we can clearly say that bulls must get over the hourly EMA 12 resistance if we're going to see any kind of notable bounce. Natural gas, daily support coming back into play. If 451 were to break, we would confirm the daily downtrend. It would be a bit of a head and shoulders pattern here. And we would then be looking at a weekly equilibrium if we get the bear break. So most important support is 451. And if it breaks, I'll be viewing it as a high, higher low, lower high, and we'll scout a weekly high or low, anything above 3964. But bears need to take out that support level and confirm the daily downtrend. Bitcoin, we had a daily higher low form yesterday, but zero follow through. And Bitcoin's just tightening up on the daily. Similar to the dollar, we're just tightening up and waiting for the FOMC reaction, it looks like. The burden is on the bulls on Bitcoin, there's no doubt about that. We've seen a couple big, hard bull spikes in the last week that are very short-lived, and we give that move back very quickly. We can say Bitcoin is holding on very well compared to the broader market, as SPY and the NASDAQ are both right down near their fear lows, and Bitcoin is not. It's just your standard tightening equilibrium here on the weekly. So it's holding up better, but that doesn't mean it's a bullish chart. It just means right now we are less bearish than the broader market. So we're certainly making note of that, but we have to break these daily lower highs if the bulls are going to prove anything to us. And the FOMC reaction is likely going to have a significant impact. So names that I'm watching today as we head into the open, I'm definitely interested in the Chinese names because of how beat up they are. I love oversold bounces, and I love the volatility in both directions. I will trade them both bullish and bearish. And at this point, we're watching NIO for a gap down open. I want it as beat up as possible. I want to see the bell ring. I want it to drop 4% instantly. And we want to see the same thing as yesterday, which was, and with NIO, you got to be cautious because when there's high volatility, the volume doesn't really come in here. There's almost like there's a few minute lag as the brokers struggle to keep up with all the orders. So there's been times where I've tried to play NIO in the first few minutes and my order just sits there even though it's a market order. So just be aware of that aspect of things. But we can see yesterday we dumped very significantly for the first 5 minutes and then bounced very significantly. So ideally, I want a level to play off of. If you're looking to be extremely aggressive, you're scaling into the weakness and your stop loss is based off of dollar risk that you're willing to take on the trade. But on NIO here, we've got a low of pre-market of 1307. But if 1307 breaks, we don't really have a level that we're going off of. And we know that QQQ is going to have a significant impact here. We were very correlated with QQQ with these Chinese names yesterday morning. Obviously, the moves in both directions were magnified in terms of the percentage moves that they saw, but QQQ was steering the ship in large part. So if I'm trading any of these names, whether it's BABA or NIO, I'm watching a couple other Chinese names and QQQ, and that's all that I care about as far as my main focus. So NIO is one of the names that's gapping down. BABA is seeing more strength pre-market. You can see 72.20 is a low. So again, that's a bottom fishing level. Let's say the bell rings and we see a quick drop. Bulls are going to be looking to try and play off of 72.20, knowing that we then have to break the high of pre-market, which I'm calling 75.40, if we are going to see any kind of bounce follow through. And again, these are as crushed as you can get on the daily. Well, I shouldn't say that. They can always go lower. We remind ourselves that we can always go lower than we think. And these names have huge headline risk overnight. But as far as day trading opportunity, it's very significant, which is what I'm interested in. So I'm keeping an eye on BABA and NIO very closely this morning, first thing. And I will probably make an entry on BABA off of 72.20, using 72 as a stop level, depending on how the first 5-10 minutes of trading goes. So now I go back to the Chart Guys chat room here and I look at tickers that members are requesting. And the first one is Tesla. So Tesla is going to try and hold the low of yesterday. We know Tesla was doing a good job of holding up well comparative to the broader market in the tech sector until Friday. That shifted a bit. So up until Friday, looking pretty good comparatively. Similar story to Bitcoin. It's holding on better. Doesn't mean it's bullish. It's just less bearish and positioned well if the broader market bulls could show up. Obviously, the broader market bulls did not show up, and Tesla saw a bunch of bearish options volume. Puts were rolling in all Friday, and there was a notable bearish correlation between Tesla and QQQ on Friday. So we've now continued the daily downtrend, just lower highs and lower lows. And the only hope for the bulls here now is a weekly higher low compared to 700. The bulls have to hold 700 to try and establish a base of support to go off of. And on the hourly time frame, what I care about first thing is, can the bulls hold 756, the low of yesterday? If the answer is yes, I would consider anything under the high of yesterday, we'll call it 801. Anything under that is just an hourly lower high. So if we fail 801 on the morning, it's an hourly lower high. And we then look, can the bulls hold 756 to try and shape up an hourly trend change in their favor? So watching the range from yesterday and how an hourly trend change attempts to shape up. If 756 breaks, we're just looking down at 700 with very little support. The bulls must confirm an hourly trend change to get a daily bounce going, keeping in mind every daily bounce just keeps setting a lower high, and if we don't break 861, that pattern will remain intact. But one step at a time, it's all about the hourly. Aggressive bears are going to be scouting an hourly lower high on a morning bounce. 756 must hold. AMD. So very similar story here. 10104 is support. Anything under 105.24 is just an hourly lower high. On any morning bull move, if we don't break the high of yesterday, our hourly lower high is set. And we then look, can the bulls hold 101 to try and shape up an hourly trend change? The burden is on the bulls. The bears are comfortable as long as hourly lower highs continue to form. And if we do see an hourly trend change to the bulls, it'll be a daily higher low compared to 100. But again, the burden is on the bulls, on the vast majority of individual names, to prove to us that an hourly trend change is shaping up. And then, of course, the FOMC reaction tomorrow for everybody is going to be key as far as watching our daily lower highs. If we get a bull reaction in the market to the FOMC, but we still keep forming daily lower highs, not much is going to change. DWAC has been dumping big time. So close to daily oversold conditions. Low of yesterday, $60 is a key support level previously as well. We can see back here. Let's go to the daily. So $60 is a double bottom at the moment. And that's an important short-term level. Same deal as far as any morning bounce. We're just scouting an hourly lower high. There's a short-term resistance at 63.68. So we can say if 63.68 does not break, the bears keep absolute complete control. If 63.68 does break, that's when we start creating some space for the bulls to attempt an hourly trend change. But if we fail 63.68 resistance and break $60 support, the bears keep their complete control. Burden on bulls to try and shape up an hourly trend change, keeping in mind there is tons of space for a daily lower high to be the result of the next bounce that we do see. NIO, so again, we're watching the gap down open. Yesterday had significant volatility in both directions. We have 1307, so we'll call it 13 psychological as a support level. But honestly, with my bounce trading style, I want 13 to break on the morning. Just like yesterday, 14 broke and that marked the bottom. I want 13 to break. I want things to get extreme. Doesn't mean it'll happen, but as far as my style of oversold bounces, I want as much of an imbalance on an all-out dump first thing as possible, because that's what leads to better V-shaped bounces, which is certainly what we saw yesterday. The bounce had no follow-through, but certainly significant short-term opportunity. So patient bears in Chinese names are going to be waiting for hourly lower highs as well. For example, if the bell rings and NIO bounces 8%, anything under 1574 is just an hourly lower high. So aggressive bears are going to be scouting the hourly lower high on these names as well. MELI. So MELI on the daily time frame, we're in a downtrend here. Lower high set 993.53 and 859 is the only nearby support level. We'll call that our fear low. So the bulls must hold that level. And again, it's just a clear hourly downtrend. If we do not break 928.48, it's just an hourly lower high. The burden is on the bulls to see a big enough move on the morning to try and shape up an hourly trend change. If we don't see that bull move on the morning, the bears keep their control. And after 877.69, the low of yesterday, it's 859 as the only support in play here. Only recent support in play. MNMD, daily downtrend following through, lower high, lower low. Same with Tesla as far as the only hope here is a weekly higher low compared to 79 cents. But there's no indication of any kind of shift in momentum taking place. The hourly time frame is in a clear downtrend. We can say anything under 101 is just an hourly lower high. So again, the bell can ring. We can bounce 5%, and we're still looking for an hourly lower high. The bulls must confirm an hourly trend change, and if they do, anything under 110 is just a daily lower high. So it's a tall hill for the bulls to climb here in names that are in clear weekly, daily, and hourly downtrends, because they have to change the hourly trend in their favor, and then they have to change the daily trend in their favor. And we're not even at step one now. Bulls are just looking for step one. Just bounce significantly enough to try and change the hourly trend. And there's still a ton of work that they have to do after that. So just keeping perspective when we look for bulls attempting to change the trend. Bears are comfortable as long as daily lower highs keep forming. URA. So uranium names are scouting daily higher lows. Low of yesterday's support, 23.59. That level is going to be tested first thing. After 23.59 is 23.40. And anything under the high of yesterday is just an hourly lower high on a bounce attempt. So again, same thing. We have to see the bulls control the morning to even create space for an hourly trend change attempt. If the bulls do not control the morning, the bears remain very confident. Hourly trend change needed on uranium names if we're going to see daily higher lows form. CCJ is a little bit stronger than URA on the daily. We can see daily EMA 12. There's less retracement size on the drop at this point. So personally, if I were looking bullish, I like CCJ's daily chart just a bit better, but hourly trend change back to the bulls needed for anything to change. Netflix has been a lead bear. It's clearly dropping to fresh fear lows. And it's been a falling knife ever since earnings. We had the bump when Ackman had his position announced, but fairly short-lived. So daily downtrend remains very clear. Hourly time frame, anything under the high of yesterday is just an hourly lower high. Goal for the bulls is to maintain the low of yesterday's support, 329.82. If that level breaks, bears resume complete control, but again, the bulls must control the morning to create the space for an hourly trend change attempt. If we break 329.82, we're back in falling knife scenario. And the next level from there, really 300 psychological is the next clear level that stands out. Clear daily downtrend. And again, this is where patience comes into play, the theme of the week. Because if I'm looking for a long-term entry on names that are in free fall, whether it's Chinese names, whether it's Facebook or Netflix, again, I just have to keep reminding myself, I don't have to nail the bottom. Look back to the COVID lows. How many opportunities did the bulls have to not only grab a position, but average up along the way? And that's my mindset right now. That's my anti-FOMO. I know, number one, once a bigger picture bottom is hit, whenever that is, I don't have to nail the bottom to see significant gains. And once I get a good entry and once it's clear the tides are turning, I can average up. And if it is truly a longer term bottom, then there's plenty of opportunity to do so along the way. So personally, not trying to nail falling knife bottoms, that's my game plan, essentially. I am keeping a bigger picture bullish mindset, but I'm not constantly playing against short-term bearish momentum. Patiently waiting for something to change, prove something to me on the daily time frame. And until that happens, certainly not going to be looking aggressively bullish. MOS, so daily tightening range, anything above 52.90 is a daily high or low. We're going to test the low of yesterday this morning. Bulls have to hold 56.55 and break 58.94 for the first indication that a daily high or low may already be forming. If we do not break that resistance of 58.94, the bears will keep short-term control. And after 56.55, we are looking down at that 52.90 level. And if I'm not in a position, I want to see this chart get nice and tight. We'll see how the FOMC reaction goes, but ideally, as tight as possible before a clear break takes place. But a really nice and clear tightening range so far. Just watching for the bulls to attempt the daily high or low compared to 52.90. BTU, already confirming the daily downtrend, so weekly consolidation clearly underway. Plenty of space for a weekly high or low, anything above 14.34. But again, these commodity names are definitely losing momentum. The question is this the cycle top as far as, have we topped out for the next couple of months? Or can bulls form a weekly high or low and then resume uptrends? And we're watching the retracement size on these weekly pullbacks to help us answer that question. And it's the same question for oil and for gold and silver because of their significant pullbacks from the high as well. So on the hourly, we've got a clear downtrend as our guide. If the bulls do not break 2015, they don't prove a thing and bears keep complete control. We get a gap down open. The low of pre-market is 18.14. And then again, not a lot of support was established on the way up, 17.73. I'm just looking at the low of each previous day here as a support level, knowing that the bears will keep short-term control as long as we're in a daily and hourly downtrend. And the burden is on the bulls to regain the daily uptrend if a weekly high or low is going to be set. YANG. So Yang gap up open is coming here. And hourly uptrend, anything above the low of yesterday is an hourly uptrend. This is a leveraged 3 times China bear. So I can tell just by looking at this that the Chinese names are bouncing a bit in pre-market. But we're in an hourly uptrend here. And if anything's going to shift, just like BABA and NIO have to confirm an hourly trend change in their favor to the bulls, this name would have to lose the hourly uptrend. So wherever we find a higher low, we would then have to fail the high of pre-market and break that level to confirm an hourly downtrend if we're going to see daily bounces shape up on these Chinese names. So hourly uptrend clear guide on a gap up open, just keeping in mind this is the second gap up open in a row, and we're definitely at extremes. NVDA. So NVDA is trying to hold the fear bottom here, 208, 208, 206s. So there's a bit of a base forming here. Burden is on the bulls. Anything under 222.62 is just an hourly lower high. Bulls must hold the low of yesterday to try and shape up an hourly trend change attempt. And we have to confirm an hourly trend change if anything's going to shift in the short term. Otherwise, bears keep their complete control as we are knocking on the door of another leg down if this fear low breaks. LMT. LMT is tightening up on the daily chart. Pre-market, anything under the high of yesterday is an hourly lower high. And we're looking for a daily higher low, anything above 432.43. So these are the two most important levels to me. And the bulls are trying to hold the daily EMA 12. And we need to see a confirmed hourly trend change back in favor of the bulls if we're going to have confidence that that daily EMA 12 can continue to hold as support. Bigger picture, 457 is the more important daily resistance level here. CHPT, 5 minutes until the open. So CHPT, big time pullback here. It started as a potential daily bull flag, but yesterday certainly eliminated that from being possible. We're looking for an hourly lower high, anything under the high of yesterday. Note how many times I've said that this morning. There are a ton of individual names that have the same setup where anything under the high of yesterday is an hourly lower high, which is why bears are going to be actively scouting entries on any morning bull moves, knowing that if we don't break highs of yesterday, it doesn't prove anything as far as changing hourly trends. And that's the case here. Low of yesterday is going to be in play first thing, 1494. If it breaks, we look to the low of pre-market, 1453. And this is shaping up for weekly consolidation to potentially be on the table, because even when we do change the hourly trend from here, we've now got a lot of space for a daily lower high to be the result of the next bounce. But first things first, we're just keeping the hourly as our guide, knowing that we're just looking for an hourly lower high to be the result of the next bounce. And that's another reason bulls can be patient here. You can miss a bounce all morning and say, all right, nice bounce, nice space. I'll look for the hourly high or low, playing off the low wherever that is, knowing that if we don't confirm the hourly trend change, the morning bounce won't mean anything. So if you are a patient Chinese trader looking for these names to find a daily bounce, doesn't matter if I miss the morning bounce on NIO, I'm going to look for the hourly high or low. And that obviously failed yesterday, but eventually it will confirm and the daily bounce will be underway. So you need to determine, are you looking to be aggressive or patient? Because there are different game plans depending on the answer to that question and different time frames that you're focused on. Facebook stood out as a lead bull yesterday. I'm watching this to be a falling wedge. Obviously, the broader market is going to have a significant impact here, but we broke the lows, the fresh fear lows yesterday, but only by 30 cents or so. And then we held up better than the rest of the tech sector all day. So if bulls break 189.88, that'll be a step in the right direction. And then it's 192.29. Essentially, if we break the high of yesterday, we can call that an hourly trend change back to the bulls. And then we'll be zooming out and knowing that if we don't break 199.10, it's just a daily lower high. But Facebook bulls gave the first initial signs of strength yesterday. And if QQQ and if the NASDAQ futures can confirm an hourly trend change to the bulls, then Facebook, in my opinion, is positioned better than some of the tech names to benefit from that. So as far as the tech sector is concerned, I'm definitely keeping an eye on Facebook if the NASDAQ starts to show us a shift on the hourly time frame. NTR. So NTR looking for a daily higher low, anything above 88.91. The bulls have space to work with, but we are potentially seeing a gap down open. If 95.79 breaks, there's a gap to fill at 95.08. So that'll be something we're keeping a close eye on. And just need to maintain daily higher lows is what it boils down to. Bulls will keep control as long as the daily uptrend remains. And it is a little bit of a head and shoulders pattern here, where if we were to set the daily higher low and then fail the recent high, we would have to be cautious. But we are scouting a daily higher low compared to 88.91 and keeping an eye on daily EMA 12, which has held the last few support attempts. COUP, and then we got the bell coming. Earnings reaction. Bulls must get over 66.75 for any kind of bounce to take place. Then we scout the hourly lower high, knowing the bulls must confirm an hourly trend change. If we cannot break 66.75, the bears keep full short-term control. And support is the low of 62.26. So we're seeing SPY and QQQ opening up near the high of pre-market, and we know that we're scouting hourly consolidation on our futures charts. We're using short-term uptrends as our guide as to when that hourly consolidation is occurring. And aggressive bears are scouting entries for that hourly consolidation to take place. So I'm keeping an eye on SQQQ. NIO trying to get a bounce going with the gap down open. So bounce underway. We know to be looking for an hourly lower high to be the result of this bounce. It's just a question of how long can the QQQ bulls keep their strength to help this bounce take place. So I will be interested in NIO, but at this point, I'm going to be watching for an hourly higher low attempt once this morning bounce tops out. I'm keeping an eye on a potential SQQQ entry, but I'm in no rush to do so. I'm watching the first few minutes of the morning and keeping an eye on real short time frames. When there's a lot of volatility in the morning first thing, I watch the 1 minute chart. So the first key question for me once QQQ sees consolidation from here is, can we set a 1 minute higher low compared to the low of the day? And the bulls are giving themselves some cushion to work with. And again, every move up that we see from here, looking at our NASDAQ futures chart, is just creating more and more space for the hourly trend change to attempt to take place later in the day. So real aggressive bears are looking for a top fish right out of the gate. But I'm not looking to be real aggressive on the morning. Keeping an eye on Tesla resistance right up around 800. Baba bulls keeping their bounce going. Again, we'll need the hourly trend change, but bulls are creating some space to work with. Checking in on our other sectors, we've got XLF approaching its high of yesterday. And the healthcare sector also strong. Everything's pretty in line with each other as far as everything's up roughly 1% right now in the morning. So this is key for me on QQQ. Can QQQ hold the low of the day and see a new high for a little 1 minute higher low and higher high to keep this move going? And if it does, then that keeps me patient in terms of looking for a bear entry for eventual hourly consolidation. So NIO getting a nice push up with BABA. Again, as long as QQQ is not topped out in the morning, those names are going to continue to benefit. And at this point, we can also be watching for 5 minute higher lows on the likes of NIO and BABA, as we are a good bit off the low of open. As far as individual names, it looks like Netflix and Facebook are leading the way in percentage terms for the tech sector. Again, Facebook has my eye as far as a lead tech bull yesterday and trying to remain a lead tech bull today. So at this point, what I'll probably do is grab an SQQQ position if we see a loss of the 1 minute uptrend. And that'll just be my starting point. And I do have more long exposure than short exposure right now as far as having a bit of a Bitcoin position and having my SPY long-term no-touch position. So when we see green mornings like this, I try and get a bit of bear exposure. I do have a little SQQQ swing position that I've been holding as long as we are in a daily downtrend. And that's my clear criteria. I will have some SQQQ exposure as long as we're in daily downtrends. Just held 1 minute support initially on QQQ. I'm watching 321.18 as a very short-term level. And that just broke. So I'm going to be looking to grab a top fishing play. Grabbing a little SQQQ, and I will stop out if we hit a new high of the day on QQQ. Just keeping risk very small, because so far this morning is shaping up a little bit differently. As far as the higher open not leading to complete bear control first thing. That's certainly the pattern that we have been seeing. And we need a new low of the day on QQQ if that pattern is going to continue. So key support from here on QQQ is 320.80. NIO bulls and BABA bulls still staying fairly strong. Still up near their highs. Aggressive bears are going to be scouting hourly lower highs on those names. So again, you look at a name like Tesla, and sure, bulls have had a good morning, but we're still 3% from high of yesterday resistance. So now the key question is, can QQQ defend the low of the day, or do we roll over into a new low of the day? And a break of 320.80 would be the first indication of potential hourly consolidation beginning. Low of the day test, there's a new low with zero follow through initially. Exiting half of SQQQ with the low of the day and no bear follow through, and that now puts me in a risk-free position. So if we see a new high of the day, I'll stop out my second half. But a bit aggressive with that half profit taking just because the new low of the day did not see any follow through. XLF is still up at its high. Again, it's testing the high of yesterday. Key resistance 37.46, keeping a close eye on that. Another low of the day test for QQQ. A little bit more follow through this time. So what a bear wants to see on QQQ now is confirmation of downtrends. So a bear wants to see a 2-minute lower high and lower low. So again, if we look at our NASDAQ futures chart, we can see the hourly is starting to form an upper wick. But we will need to confirm a 5-minute downtrend if we're going to have confidence that hourly consolidation is indeed shaping up. As far as checking in on our Chinese names, we've got NIO, 2-minute consolidation underway. So aggressive bulls are going to be scouting a 2-minute higher low off of the low of the day. But again, patient bulls are waiting for hourly higher lows to try and shape up. Short-term support on QQQ, 320.23 being tested, little pre-market level there. So now just remaining patient. I'll either stop out with a negligible trade, not sure if it'll be break even or tiny win, whatever it is, won't matter, or hourly consolidation is underway and it'll be a decent morning trade. So here's now the 2-minute bounce on QQQ. Must confirm a downtrend for the bears to continue to gain confidence that hourly consolidation is underway. Checking back in on the individual tech names. Amazon is now trying to hold on a bit better than some of its peers, but we know that those names are not going to do well unless QQQ can fend off hourly consolidation. It's essentially the question we're looking for the next 10-15 minutes. Is QQQ seeing hourly consolidation begin? Or are bulls defending to prevent that from happening? So here's a new low of the day, so a little 2-minute downtrend confirmed now. So again, it's just another step towards hourly consolidation shaping up. Tesla back to the red. We'll be watching the low of yesterday at this point on Tesla. Hourly low or high, just anything under high of yesterday, which was the case for so many individual names. NIO heading back to Tesla low of the day. I care about the lows of pre-market on these Chinese names as far as the most important support level. So now next time we bounce on QQQ, bears need to see a 5-minute lower high be the result of that bounce. So bears are approving it. As far as hourly consolidation, let's see if it's officially underway. Not officially. Still want to see that 5-minute lower high and lower low next bounce. But obviously bears gaining confidence with every new low of the day that we see from here. XBI lead bear sector. That's been the case for the last few days. It's the first red sector on my screen. NIO is quickly approaching the low of pre-market. 1307, we'll just call it 13 psychological. BABA has some more space to work with. Its low of pre-market is 7220. So see how long bears can keep this short-term control. XLF is a double top with the high of yesterday. So rejecting from clear resistance. Aggressive NIO bulls are trying to bottom fish $13. Keeping in mind we're just going to look for a 5-minute lower high to be the result of the next bounce. So I will be looking bullish later today. Again, the reason I'm looking bearish on the morning is big time bounce on our hourly futures chart without a trend change. We know we have to change hourly trends if we're going to get any bounce follow through. So I will be scouting bullish for hourly higher lows later this morning or perhaps midday. Whenever hourly consolidation starts, I will be looking for the higher low compared to the low pre-market. Question from here will be, can bears confirm a 5-minute downtrend to officially confirm that hourly consolidation is underway? And the names that I will be looking at on that hourly consolidation, looking for the hourly higher low, I will be keeping an eye on Facebook, BABA, and NIO. And I have no idea which name I will choose. It all depends on how the next hour or two goes. But those are the names that I personally am going to be focused on. Tesla low of yesterday incoming, while QQQ's low of yesterday is not close. $756 was a double bottom yesterday, and we will just be getting to 5-minute oversold as we test it. But QQQ is not close to 5-minute oversold. Checking in on commodities, so gold saw a quick little bear push into the open, and we need to break these 15-minute lower highs if bulls are going to do anything about an actual bounce taking place. But very interesting, the miners much more bullish. Gap down open for buying on GDX, and you look at the last 15 minutes and you compare it to gold, and yeah, gold's been bouncing, but miners clearly a more significant move. So they're creating space for a 5-minute higher low to form on this current consolidation compared to the low of the day. Must confirm a 5-minute uptrend for the bounce to see continuation. So here's NIO's lower pre-market test. We can see one by one names going red. Apple just going red. NVDA is on the verge. That's Sweetie Pants. So Tesla, double bottom low of yesterday's support test. I'd be more interested in playing a bounce in Tesla if, say, QQQ were 5-minute oversold. Doesn't mean we can't hold that support. It just is not the setup that I would ideally like to see. Let's check in on oil. Oil's trying to get a bounce going. But again, hourly EMA 12, resistance for such a long time that bulls don't prove a thing if it is still resistance. Tesla's now a triple bottom at 756. And we'll be watching QQQ for a 5-minute lower high next bounce, knowing we must confirm a 5-minute downtrend for that hourly consolidation to officially be following through. Tesla bulls are hoping for a big enough bounce here to try and create space for an eventual 5-minute trend change attempt. Have to at least confirm a 5-minute trend change if we're going to have confidence that that 756 triple bottom can hold. And we'll call NIO a double bottom at 13 with the low pre-market, but not a very notable bounce at this point. Bitcoin's hourly consolidation has begun. And we can see it's a very similar setup. So Bitcoin's been bouncing the last 5 hours, hourly consolidation underway. Compare it to the NASDAQ, bouncing for 5 hours, and just watching to see, is that hourly consolidation about to take shape? Same with the S&P 500. Both the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 must confirm 5-minute downtrends here for that hourly consolidation. Still Netflix and Facebook holding on a bit better. We're just looking for 5-minute lower highs. So now we're watching bounce retracement size on QQQ to see, is this a bear flag bounce, or is there a significant enough bounce to create space to then try and hold the low of the day and shape up a 5-minute trend change back to the bulls. And right now this bounce is nearing the 50% retracement level. One thing I've been doing a bit more recently is I play around with different styles is establishing break-even positions in both directions. So I can't lose on the SQQQ trade that I grabbed this morning. And now watching to see if I want to grab a bull position on something like Tesla's triple bottom or maybe NIO double bottom at the low of pre-market. But I'm watching those names. And at this point, if I were looking to be aggressive, it would be scouting a 2-minute higher low, playing off the low of the day. NIO's bounce is still not convincing at all. Tesla's bounce is creating some space. Could look for a 2-minute higher low once we do top out. VXX phenomenon. So I haven't fully gone down the rabbit hole to understand what's going on, but my superficial understanding is that they have stopped creation of new shares, which is essentially leading to an imbalance between supply and demand. And it's looking to me like traders are well aware of that and pumping it up intentionally. And it is going to stop trading at some point, I believe. I forget what the date is they stuck on that. But a very significant move on the morning here, and we are in breakout mode. And again, it is not tracking the VIX. It's doing its own thing at this point. Right now it's in a VXX is in a 5-minute stair-step pattern where every single 5-minute candle is a higher low. And so that is a short-term guide for the initial bull move. So this is a decent bounce on QQQ. And there is the possibility that when this bounce tops out, we have to watch to see if we form a 5-minute higher low compared to the low of the day. At the moment, bulls are fending off hourly consolidation. Tesla bulls are creating some space now to work with off that triple bottom. So whether it's the 2-minute or the 5-minute time frame that bulls are focusing on, they're going to be watching for a higher low attempt when we do consolidate from here. So definitely paying attention to the NIO and Tesla double bottoms. But pretty much we'll have to see new highs on QQQ. And again, it's going to be, even if we do see continuation for the bulls from here, we're still going to keep in the back of our mind, okay, bulls are following through. Bulls put any morning bears underwater, and they'll stop me out if we see a new high. But we're not going to forget for the day that we know an hourly trend change is eventually going to be needed. So maybe bulls fend off that hourly consolidation on the morning, but still going to be keeping it in the back of our minds and not forget that that will likely shape up at some point today. Question for now is, do we fail the high of the day and then form a 5-minute equilibrium, or can bulls V-shape and stop out bears like myself? Aggressive bears are watching for a top fish against the high of the day. It's a 2-minute stair-step pattern. Actually, I take that back. Not officially. If I wanted to be aggressive, I could add back the initial little half that I sold here as a top fishing play. But I'm just going to stick as is. NIO is still a much weaker bounce here. It's still a potential 5-minute bear flag. And again, we look at retracement size. The NIO bounce is not retracing anywhere near as much as Tesla or QQQ. And BABA as well. Weak 5-minute bounces comparatively. Facebook bulls are losing some of their mojo, but Netflix and now Amazon's taking Facebook's spot as a lead bull. That's a notable volume spike on the 5-minute time frame for Amazon into the new high of the day. So Amazon is taking Facebook's spot as far as a lead tech bull on the morning. And resistance for Amazon from here will be the high of yesterday, 29.49. Again, the new high of the day is a good sign for the bulls, but anything under 29.49 is still just an hourly lower high. NVDA made a very significant bounce as well. V-shape. So obviously any individual name that has hit a new high of the day stands out as stronger against the names that have not. So now we're watching to see if QQQ can form a little cup and handle here. And the cup and handle pattern is a left side of resistance. It's a continuation pattern. Inability to break the left side of resistance initially, and then a bull flag. So because this would be an attempt to continue the bounce that's been taking place all morning, it is a valid pattern to be keeping an eye on if this 2-minute consolidation remains healthy. So close to stopping out here, and again, it's just a little character shift on the morning where the initial bear entries, bulls are trying to put pressure on them. It's all about the high of the day test now. If we reject from the high of the day, we look for a 5-minute high or low. NIO and BABA still weak. Definitely a red flag for Facebook bulls. 5-minute downtrend confirmed. Facebook is doing exactly what the QQQ bears would have hoped. And again, just inverse to what Amazon's been doing the last 15 minutes. So falling out of the spotlight of lead bull very quickly for Facebook, which now makes me a lot less interested in it later this morning. So a little double top on QQQ initially. We'll see what the rejection looks like. How much do we pull back from the high of the day? Tesla bulls must form a 5-minute high or low compared to the low of the day, but NIO and BABA, 5-minute bear flags on the table as BABA tests the low of the day. And we could see they were weaker. It was just bounce retracement size. Bounce was nowhere near what it was on QQQ, so we could say bulls are not positioned well if QQQ consolidates from here. As far as our other sectors, XLF is at the low of the day, making note of that. So double top at the high of yesterday. Pretty clear rejection. XLV Healthcare is holding on as a lead bull sector on the morning. Gold bounce still not doing much. Neither is the oil bounce. Just seeing a question, how do I decide when to exit my inverse position if I'm long a position and short a position? So I don't do anything. I just set my stop levels. And I did it yesterday where I was in an SQQQ position that I added on aggressively. And then I added a Facebook position bullish. And so I stopped out of my SQQQ position. My stop loss was hit. I didn't do anything. And my Facebook position went, 1% to the upside. So essentially, I just let one position stop out, and then the other one is a profitable trade. That's essentially what I'm trying to position myself for. So stopping out of SQQQ with the new high of the day on QQQ. And the bulls will need to set a 5-minute high or low next time we consolidate, but we can certainly say successful fending off of hourly consolidation Bears had a good start to the morning. They did not confirm a 5-minute downtrend with the lower high and lower low. NIO now has a triple bottom, just above 13. Tesla still has not topped out on its 5-minute bounce. Tesla just confirmed a 2-minute trend change to the bulls. So aggressive bears are not giving up. You know, you're not jumping right back into position right now, but you're still keeping an eye out for hourly consolidation. But this is definitely giving some bulls some life. And we'll be watching for 5-minute higher lows on names like Tesla and QQQ next time we do consolidate. So now the question is, how long can the bulls keep this move going before hourly consolidation begins? And the more we see follow through to the upside, the more space is created for that hourly trend change attempt. Best case for the bulls, in my opinion, from here would be obviously bounce throughout the morning, see some hourly consolidation midday, ideally fairly limited retracement, and then new highs into the close. When's the last time we saw a high of the day into the final hour, hour and a half of trading and a strong close? It's been a while. But that's what we would need to see for there to be a short-term character shift in the market. So I'm back to patient. Maybe interested in a Tesla 5-minute equilibrium. If we fail the high of the day, we'll scout the 5-minute high or low. But NIO and BABA both negating, at least for the moment, negating that bear flag. BABA is still clearly weaker. DKNG. So also a nice bounce off the low. And at this point, we're watching the high of the day resistance and we're watching the 15-minute time frame, knowing if we don't break the high of the day, it's a 15-minute lower high. And we'll watch for a tightening range. Oftentimes when we get this wide range on the morning, we trade within it for a while. So if we fail the high of the day, we scout a 15-minute higher low to be the result of any consolidation. If we break the high of the day, that's when we have an hourly bounce underway, where anything under the high of yesterday is an hourly lower high, knowing that we must confirm an hourly trend change to the bulls later in the day if we're going to get convincing follow through. But for now, I'm finding clarity on the 15-minute and watching high of day resistance. So Amazon and Netflix now lead bulls. NVDA as well. Those are the three that are standing out on my screen. Let's check in on those gold miners. GDX trying to be a little 5-minute bull flag. Again, still notably stronger than the metal itself. I mean, look at this difference. This is gold testing the low of the day. And the miners, very significant comparative strength and positioned very well if gold can hold this low. So QQQ watching for 5-minute consolidation. Again, if bulls are going to prove continuation here, we need to confirm a 5-minute trend change. This move did just come off the low of the day, V-shaped bounce. So we will have to set a 5-minute high or low and new high of the day for continuation. And certainly the last couple of weeks, we've had a lack of trust on V-shaped bounces to new high of the day, because oftentimes there's very little follow through from there on QQQ. But for now, we'll chalk it up as a win for bulls on the morning. Again, just putting bears from the first 15, 20 minutes of trading underwater or stopping them out. And it's all about hourly trend changes from here. So checking in on Yang. So Yang, the bear ETF, need to confirm the 5-minute trend change if we're going to set an hourly high or low. So we got our low of the day, high of the day, and we're scouting a 5-minute high or low now. So a tightening 5-minute range. And if we break the high of the day, the hourly high or low is set. And if we break the low of the day, then that tells us hourly bounces are underway on our Chinese names. Tesla 5-minute consolidation underway. So our lower high is now set at 776.15. That's our short-term resistance level. The bulls must hold the low of the day and break that level if we're going to gain a 5-minute uptrend. And IO still has not topped out. And again, when I'm always comparing here, I'm always looking at all names in similar sectors to see who's stronger, who's weaker. And NIO is standing out stronger than XPEV, than BABA. Baidu's catching up a bit here. QQQ 5-minute consolidation underway. So bulls must hold the low of the day and break the high of the day to confirm a 5-minute trend change in favor of the bulls. And it's notable to me that as QQQ is pulling back the last 7 minutes, NIO is not. So we've been watching a notable correlation between QQQ and NIO the last 2 days, but bulls are trying to shift that correlation in their favor by ignoring the current consolidation that's taking place. So we're watching retracement size on the 5-minute time frame. XLF is down at the low of the day. I'm keeping an eye on the other sectors. So XLF right now is the weakest major sector. XLV is a double top at the high of the day and testing the low of the day. So watching to see, is it going to join Team Bear by breaking its low? SPY is a clear 5-minute equilibrium, trying to hold its low of the day to remain within the tightening range. And IO's getting my interest just by ignoring QQQ weakness here. So I'll be keeping an eye out for an NIO 5-minute high or low next time we consolidate. Miners still consolidating as gold did break to a lower low. So we can say we are clearly holding on way better than gold still, but gold weakness is very clear. And we are at 4-hour oversold conditions for gold. And gold is giving back a big chunk of that move up that we saw. Double top at the all-time high. Well, yeah, that's a double top. That does not make bulls comfortable on gold. To pull back that much off a double top rejection, we're a long ways away from that level now. So QQQ trying to shape up a 5-minute higher low. I might be interested in those miners. If gold can get any kind of bounce going, miners are positioned well. Do I think IWM is weak because of XLF weakness? Definitely a factor. But I can go through and scan through just a quick rundown of some growth names. And I can see ARKK did break the low of yesterday, but no bear follow through. So it is a little bit green. PLTR, very similar. PTON's having a nice strong day. XBI is notably weak. It's a 5-minute equilibrium on IWM, very similar to SPY. It's tracking SPY more than XLF right now. So NIO bulls have got the space now. Solid bounce. $13 is the line in the sand. Baba, nice bounce follow through as well. High of the day coming back into the picture. Tesla 5-minute higher low trying to be set. Have to get over 776.15 to confirm the 5-minute trend change to bulls. NIO bears are hoping it just goes V-shaped straight back to the high of the day to be looking for a top fishing play against that resistance. But NIO, very notably for me, the last 15 minutes has been showing a bullish correlation with QQQ. So now that I've got that locked in, I observe that for the rest of the morning. Can it keep a bullish correlation up with QQQ through the rest of the day? Because I want to be recognizing correlations and trading with them in my favor. GDX has a bullish correlation to gold. NIO has a bullish correlation to QQQ. I'm going to enter some GDX. So I'm going to enter some GDX and just give a little bit of wiggle room for a stop under the current low. That's either a bull flag into a new high of the day, or I will stop out if 36.20 breaks. NVDA, Netflix, and Amazon remaining our lead bulls, positioned well for any continued QQQ strength. And so if this GDX trade is going to work out, I want to see the broader market stay strong, but I got to see gold change its 15-minute trend. It's clearly in a downtrend on the 15-minute time frame. We need a 15-minute trend change for the first indication that a 4-hour oversold bounce is shaping up. So I can say that GDX is positioned very well comparative to gold, but that won't matter if gold keeps dropping. Have to see gold find a bottom. Baba trying to make it to the high of the day. Just under it right now, 77.18. Apple's a very clear 5-minute equilibrium. So traders looking for trades are hoping equilibriums like this get nice and tight through the next half hour plus. And then they look to play the break, if not playing off of the highs and the lows. So anything under 150, 184 will just be a 5-minute lower high. GDX high of the day test, 36.63. You could also choose to play it through the leveraged ETFs, but GDX is what I've been watching, so I'm just going to stick with what's comfortable and use a bit more capital than I would be using on the leveraged ETF. So QQQ back to the high of the day test. 5-minute bull flag attempting to follow through. If we do get a new high of the day here, then that 5-minute uptrend is then going to be our guide through the morning as far as bull control. And we can say as long as the 5-minute uptrend remains, bulls have short-term control. And looking in the other direction, just something to be aware of, if this high of the day lacks follow-through, it is a rising wedge. This is the 2-minute time frame. And this is what an aggressive bear is hoping is going to shape up. So again, always looking in both directions. What would I be looking for if I'm a bull? What would I be looking for if I'm a bear? Currently a little double top at the high of the day. And if we were to pull back instead of 2-minute high or low and then head back up towards resistance, I may be looking to reinitiate another SQQQ position. GDX high of the day, but need gold to at least even change the 5-minute trend is step number 1 to try and shift short-term momentum and help this minor bounce follow through. Looks like Tesla failed the 5-minute trend change attempt, so we're tightening up here in an equilibrium. SPY is still in a 5-minute equilibrium, but NIO keeps chugging along. Clear bull correlation as Baba tests the high of the day, increasing bull volume. And bulls will be watching for 5-minute higher lows next time we consolidate on those Chinese names. NLSN volume spike, very notable into the high of the day. So I would check around and see if there's news related to that or what. But on the daily chart, inside bar is likely, unless we break 25.78. There's a ton of range to maintain as a daily inside bar. We can say hourly high or low is 21.95, and anything under 25.78 is an hourly lower high. So that's the most important resistance. But a clear hourly high or low set now that we got that significant bull move off the low. Bull break on QQQ. So again, I'm going to keep an eye on that. potential rising wedge, but we would need to drop right back down to the mid 322s from here if that were going to remain in play. Tesla is testing its 5-minute resistance. Bull break for Tesla. Keeping in mind, if we don't break the high of the day, it's just a 15-minute lower high. And that's where rotating these time frames around helps us. Because yes, it's a definite little bull win on the 5-minute trend change, but if we fail the high of the day, it's possible that we just form a 15-minute equilibrium from here. So that high of the day resistance is still important to keep an eye on. Is QQQ still a possible rising wedge? Not touching my line, and here we are with an upper wick. So again, the hallmark of a rising wedge is bull breaks lacking follow through. So we're going to keep an eye on it. And again, my lines aren't concrete. I'll adjust them a little bit, move them up and down just a little bit. This is just my visual guide right now. And the only reason I'm looking for a rising wedge is knowing that we have not seen hourly consolidation and a trend change on our futures charts from the lows of pre-market. So always in the back of my head throughout the rest of the day, I'm going to be keeping an eye out for a setup that potentially indicates hourly consolidation. It's possible we just bounce all through the morning and keep control all day. But bulls will be much more confident once hourly trend changes are confirmed, as opposed to a V-shaped bounce with no trend change. VXX, top was hit. 5-minute stair step, breaking at 38.26. And Big Bear followed through from there. I'm not trading that wild beast. Looks like there was probably a halt mixed in there. So QQQ bulls will negate my rising wedge if we clear 323 with some follow through here. And then I'll just stick to the 5-minute uptrend as my guide. NIO high of the day, 1447 approaching. Is NIO automated buying? Doesn't really stand out to me. Obviously, there's a bunch of bots and automated trading going on, but it's really just a thin order book. When you dump down like this, you clear out the order book and then you work back through it on the way up. And it's just a lack of liquidity, allowing for these very wide ranges in both directions. Again, just massive opportunity in both directions again, with a 10% drop and a 10% bounce. And bulls are hoping that this is a daily bounce shaping up. And it certainly looks that way. Which is why aggressive bulls will be scouting entries on 5-minute higher lows or 15-minute higher lows. The patient bulls are knowing that we haven't changed the hourly trend, so have at it, bulls. Bounce without me. I'll scout the hourly higher low whenever that happens. Also have to keep in mind, of course, the FOMC reaction. Are we going to see bulls willing to hold through that, or are they going to lock in short-term bounce profits before then? Tesla new high of the day. So QQQ looks like I'm going to take that rising wedge off the table and just stick to the 5-minute uptrend. NVDA up 4%, Netflix approaching 4%. So again, it's a very notable character shift on the morning. When's the last time we opened higher and the bulls controlled all morning in QQQ? The answer is it's been a long time. QQQ's resistance is going to be the high of yesterday. If we don't break 326.59, it's just a daily inside bar. But it's looking to me like some temporary bottoms are being set in Chinese names. Let's check out Bitcoin. So Bitcoin responding as well. Hourly consolidation took place as we saw market consolidation on the morning, confirmed the hourly trend change bullish. So now on Bitcoin, I zoom out and I look for anything under 39.9 to be a 4-hour lower high. But really, I just care about the daily equilibrium, noting that we're likely not going to get any break until at least the FOMC reaction. Big old bounce for BABA, up 10% off the pre-market lows. Again, lots of space for 5-minute higher lows on Chinese names next time we consolidate. Is Apple breaking bull of its equilibrium? It is. Great sign for the tech sector. Now the question is, can other sectors join the tech sector lead bulls? Can XLV break its high of the day? Can XLF break the double top? We need other sectors to join if it's going to be market-wide confidence as opposed to just tech sector confidence. Tesla, we're watching 801 resistance from yesterday. So a lot of yesterday's highs of the day coming back into play now. And gold is not finding a bottom. So it may stop out of that minor position if the gold bulls don't bottom here. It's looking to me like the broader market strength is adding weakness to the metals. Still some of that inverse relationship. So may have to see hourly consolidation take place in the S&P 500 and NASDAQ futures if we're going to get any kind of bounce in gold. Gold is getting beat up. Facebook is definitely recovering, but again, we're not breaking the high of the day. Anything under the high of the day is a 15-minute lower high. We haven't changed the 5-minute trend yet. And just in comparison to so many other names that are so much stronger, it really lost its mojo there. It'll definitely benefit as long as QQQ remains bullish, but it is no longer standing out as a lead bull. FCEL, trying to bounce here as well. Anything under the high of the day is a 15-minute lower high. And still a ways away from its high of the day. So not bouncing nearly as significantly as some of the other EV names. Again, Tesla with a clear new high of the day. Same with NIO. So the fact that even XPEV got a new high of the day. So the fact that FCEL is not even close has it stand out with a bearish correlation to a bunch of other EV names. So when I'm looking for a correlation now between gold and SPY and QQQ, I'm watching to see, do 5-minute bounces start on gold when 5-minute consolidation takes place on QQQ and SPY? And if they do, then that confirms to me, okay, it's going to take hourly consolidation in our futures charts if we're going to see gold get any kind of bounce. So that's now what I'm going to observe over the next 30 minutes. SPGI, 5-minute higher low is set at 382.68, testing the high of the day. So bulls nice and strong. Checking the daily chart. Testing the high of yesterday. So 386.34 and 388.65 are a couple short-term key resistance levels. And bulls have full short-term control as long as the 5-minute uptrend remains intact. When we lose the 5-minute uptrend, we'll scout an hourly higher low compared to the low of yesterday. So this is bulls giving themselves a lot of space for an hourly trend change attempt when we do top out. X is weak along with most commodity names today. Anything above 28.61 is a daily high or low, so we're still clearly in a daily uptrend. But we need an hourly trend change back to the bulls for a daily high or low to be established, and we are at our lows right now. So it's going to take some work for the bulls to shift this momentum around for an hourly bounce to try and be underway. That's another thing we can be watching. Are our commodity names going to remain inverse to the broader market as it is strong this morning? Tesla's approaching that high of yesterday. QQQ continuing strong. QQQ's putting some pressure on some short-term bears from yesterday. 326.59, high of yesterday resistance to be keeping an eye on. NIO with a little 2-minute bull flag just confirmed. 5-minute stair-step pattern. NIO's been setting a higher low every single candle for the last 7 in a row. So that's one signal that bulls can be looking for as far as a little short-term profit signal if they're wanting to lock in some short-term profits. As long as we keep setting a higher low every 5-minute candle, we are not topping out. Solid bull volume and space for hourly trend changes to shape up on both our futures charts as well as our Chinese names. All right, last one, GOOG. Nice 5-minute trend change into a new high of the day. So bulls following through. We know anything under the high of yesterday is an hourly lower high. So 26.21 resistance. But this morning bounce is creating space for an hourly trend change to try and shape up once we top out. All right. Have a good rest of your morning. Appreciate you tuning in. And I'll see you in the end of the day video. Or in the chat room. I'll be back in the chat room in 7 minutes.